Okay, just so that y'all know the format, I'm going to ask all of these candidates exactly the same question, but within each race, I will start with one person, for instance, Ms. Lee, the first question. On the second question, I'll start with Foley, and the same with the 122nd race. Okay. So this is the first part of this forum. So I am going to have the candidates introduce themselves. What I want from you is your personal background, where you are from, your family, your education, your hobbies, things that interest you, and why you want to be a judge. And please stick to that format. We have a lot more specific questions coming up after that. In fact, things about, other things, but at this point, really what I want is your personal background. We want to get to know you here. Your personal background, where you're from, family, education, things that are interesting to you, and why do you want to be a judge. You each have 3 minutes, and I will be back here with the timer, and the timer will have a bell, and when it goes off, finish your sentence. We will start with you, Ms. Lee.
I came here, my family originally came here from Vietnam in 1978 or 79. I came here when I was 5 years old. My parents has 4 of us. I have 3 brothers. I'm the oldest in the family. I grew up here in Texas. The only place I ever lived in my memory is in Texas. I went to high school. I went to elementary school in Houston, Bruce Elementary School, went to Lanier Middle School in Houston, and high school, Hastings. Went to UH for biology. Mom and Dad geared me to be a doctor. Unfortunately, it was a disappointment to them that I didn't become the doctor that they wanted. Instead, I became a lawyer. And my dad was so disappointed that while I was the first year in law school, he didn't speak to me for a whole year because he has geared me my whole life to be a doctor, to save others, and I was not going to be able to save others as he had planned. I went to Thurgood Marshall TSU at law school. I graduated in 2000. I've been practicing law as a private attorney for 21 years, handling all area of the law from the beginning stage through all the appellate level. I have handled civil, probate, juvenile, family, and criminal law. I have appealed cases in state and federal jurisdiction. I'm licensed here in Texas. Sometimes I travel across the border to Louisiana because clients hire me to do so. And that's our job, is to represent our client when the call needs. And I am licensed in all the U.S. Federal court in Texas, plus the 5th Circuit federal jurisdiction. The reason why I want to become a judge is that I believe that as a job of a judge, you should rule based on the Constitution and based on the law. And you should look at the case based on the case basis, based on the merit and the law. It doesn't matter who the parties are. That's my position. And I strongly believe that the Constitution should be upheld. I stand for individual right, law and order, fair and impartial judgment, jury trial, and I strongly believe for the individual rights. That's where I stand. Thank you, Judge. I didn't run over my time.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kerri Foley. I am your judge in County Court No. 2. I'm a lifelong Texan. I was born and raised in Brazoria County. I've been in Galveston County now for nearly 20 years. I've been a participating member of this community for nearly 20 years. And I have one sister. My father was in law enforcement all of my growing up years, so that's probably where I got my conservative values, was from him, probably. I have one sister, Shanna. She's married to a pilot, and they get to travel all over everywhere. My better half is here with me tonight, Tim Cromie. He's my partner in life. I also have with me my good friend Kathleen McCumber and a bunch of friends over here, but my court reporter extraordinaire is here with me tonight. Why do I want to be a judge? Well, I want to be a judge because right now it is my job. I love being a judge. I went to law school at South Texas. I have been an attorney in this area for nearly 29 years, not quite, but nearly 29 years. I was a chief prosecutor for the DA's office, where I prosecuted criminal cases and I supervised other attorneys that prosecuted criminal cases. And then I went into private practice, and in private practice, I worked mostly civil and family. I worked thousands of family cases while in private practice. I have been a judge in this community for nearly 19 years. I've worked in many different courts, several of your municipal courts. I worked in your magistrate court when there was only 2 of us, so we were really busy. One of my favorite jobs that I had was being your judge in the juvenile court. I absolutely love that. In 2013, when we had a judge removed for misconduct, the county officials approached me and asked me nicely to take over County Court 3, and I did so. I worked really hard the court had been badly damaged, and I worked hard to restore integrity and order to that court. And in the process, I found that I really liked the county courts. So when Judge Roberts said in 2018 that she was going to retire, I came to you. I asked you for your support to be the judge in County Court 2, and I am honored that you gave me that support. I'm doing an excellent job in running that court, and I say actually it's we, it's my staff. We make a great team. I could not do it on my own. And the Office of Court Administrations has said that because of COVID, it's going to take 3 years to catch up. I'm going to tell you, we run such a tight court and such a good court that we are already pre-COVID right now.
I'm Jeth Jones. I'm running for the 122nd District Court. As many of you know, Judge Ellison is retiring, and this is a very important race because Judge Ellison was the first Republican judge elected, I think, since Reconstruction. He's been on the bench at the end of his term 20 years. This is an important race because we need to ensure that a Republican stays in that race. Not only do we need to ensure a Republican keeps that bench, we need to also make sure that the candidate that takes over his bench is experienced and can provide the county with the type of experience we need to have in that race, on that bench, as the judge that can provide conservative values to that bench and continue the legacy that Judge Ellison has provided. A bit about myself. I'm a 22-year lawyer in this county. I've maintained an office in Galveston County for 22 years. I went to South Texas College of Law, but before that, just a bit of background. My wife, Mary, and I live in Galveston on Galveston Island. We have a son that's 17 years old. I grew up in Darlington, South Carolina. I don't know if y'all know that, but went to college in Virginia at Hampden, Sydney, and then came to Texas in 1996. When I graduated South Texas College of Law in 1999, my first job out of law school was with the Galveston District Attorney's Office. I stayed there as a trial lawyer in felony courts, prosecuting criminals, and then moved on to civil practice. I've handled criminal cases, I've handled civil cases, I've handled appeals, I've handled every type of case that would come in front of this court, the 122nd District Court. And to speak more about that, I've had over 100 trials as the trial lawyer in those cases. And so that's important because the judge in this seat, the judge that becomes the judge of the 122nd District Court, needs experience, and I have that experience. A little more about me. I was elected in 2013 to be the president of the Galveston Bar Association. I currently serve as a magistrate judge for Galveston County. I was appointed to that position, and I've been in that position this entire year, or all of last year. I currently work at Mill Shirley as a practicing attorney, and I've been there for about 3 years. Prior to that, when I left the DA's office, I was in private practice with my own firm. The last time before I went to Mill Shirley, my firm was Jones Robinson LLP, and I came to Mill Shirley after Judge Jared Robinson was appointed by Governor Abbott, and that's when I went to Mill Shirley. So that was my former law partner for about 8 years. I want to be the next judge of the 122nd District Court because I believe I'm the proven conservative, the trustworthy conservative that everyone knows and can trust to be the conservative with experience on that bench, and I would appreciate your support.
Hello, my name is Timothy Clark. A little bit about me. I was born in Midland, Texas. We moved back down here in 1974 to League City. I was 11 years old. I went through junior high there and then high school. I entered high school at the age of 12. I graduated at the age of 16. I was married 3 months after graduation to my wife for 41 years. My parents had to sign for emancipation. It was a very difficult time at that time for my parents. I was an only child and adopted at birth. So we have 3 children. I have 7 grandchildren. I live in Santa Fe, Texas. Like I said, I went to school in League City for Clear Creek High School, but the property tax was so high, so we moved to Santa Fe, and now it really don't matter where you live in Galveston County, the property taxes are high. About me. So from 16 years and then 27 years later, I spent my time working in industrial construction. I was a contract rig welder. I had my own truck, fabricate pipes and vessels and everything else along the way. So I took a job that I have now where I'm a site manager of a chemical plant because the owner and plant manager encouraged me to come down there. I didn't want to. They didn't pay enough. But I did, and I wound up staying there and worked my way up there to the position of site manager. So during that time, after I hired in there in 2005, around 2007, my knees and back were going bad. I decided, well, I need to do something else. So I decided I'd go to law school. I just decided to go to law school. So I went and finished up. I had an associate's degree. I got me a bachelor's degree at the University of Houston, then in my 40s. And then I got fortunate enough to be accepted to South Texas College of Law, and I went in as a part-time student, meaning that I would work all day and go to law school at night, read till 1, get up at 5, and go back and do it again. So I got through law school. I started law school in 2010, graduated in December 2013. So I made it on a full-time program as a part-time student. I didn't stop. I took every intersession, every summer school. I was also fortunate to be on the Board of Advocates, which, if anybody knows about South Texas College of Law, it's the winningest law school for mock trial moot court competition in the United States. It was run by the late Gerald Treese. I got to know Gerald Treese there while I was there in law school. So I got to work with a lot of students like me, which these mock trials, which is like real trials. It's just they hadn't got a bar degree yet. Fortunately, starting in as my first year, I was able to start judging on mock trials, which is no different than being in a court. You hear evidence, you hear everything, and you judge on the performance of the student. I did that for 3 years. I took the bar in February of 2014, and I graduated. I passed the bar in May, and I started practicing law. So I've been practicing law for 8 years and keeping a full-time job as a site manager. So not only do I manage the full things of the site manager duties of the chemical plant, from regulations with the state to personal issues with HR, I also have a law practice that I practice out of. My position allows me to go to court when I need to, and so it's been very fortunate with it.
Okay. So the next question, and I may repeat it if you need me to. So, candidates, describe your understanding of the court you want to be judge of and why your background and professional experience makes you the perfect candidate for the job. In your answer, talk about yourself only, not your opponent.
All right. Well, I can tell you exactly what County Court 2 does because I've been doing it for years. I've been running that court for years. So County Court 2 is a court of general jurisdiction, which means it has jurisdiction over criminal misdemeanor offenses. It has jurisdiction over family cases, including divorce and modifications. It has concurrent civil jurisdiction with the district courts, and it has jurisdiction over juvenile cases. So we do a little bit of everything, and every case that we handle is a little different. For example, the criminal cases are heavy with jury trials, but the family cases are more hearing intensive. Before, I think I said this earlier, before running County Court 2, I was sent to County Court 3 to restore some order to that court. The Court of General Jurisdiction is where I want to be because it gives me the opportunity to do a little bit of everything. It gives me a little opportunity to do juvenile law, which is my passion. I think I don't know if I told you earlier, but I did run the juvenile court here in Galveston County for a couple of years. So it lets me do a little bit of juvenile. It lets me stay and do a little bit of stay in the criminal law area and do a little bit of criminal law. But it also allows me to do family law. So it gives me a pretty well-rounded experience. Now, why do I have the skills for this job? Well, I've been doing it for years. I run an excellent court. I won't say that we're good. I will say that we run an exceptional court in County Court 2. We run a perfect court. In fact, I challenge anyone to come forward and say what they think that we're doing that's not just 100%. It's a 2-minute question? I'm so sorry. Okay, Judge. Okay. Why am I, as Kerri has said, this is a general court that covers civil, probate, juvenile, and criminal. I have handled all those areas as a private attorney for 21 years. Standing on my own 2 feet, hanging out my own shingle. And if you ever a business owner, especially, a small business owner, you know how much it takes, how much strength it takes to do that. And I have handled all those areas of the law from the beginning through all the appellate level in state and federal jurisdiction. I am a trial attorney. I had tried many cases in all these areas, and I had appeal cases in all of these areas. So I am more than have enough experience to cover this court. Why would be a better candidate than most people is that I understand, coming from a minority, coming from a family, that my mom and dad had worked. We came here with nothing. We're talking about our country right now being taken over by socialism. My family fled away from that country. My parents lived under communism for almost 4 years, so they can tell you what it's like under communism. And when we came here, and my mom and dad never let us forget where we came from, how we came from there. So I understand, and when I become a judge, I want to protect the individual right and protect our country right. This is my home, this is my country, and I want to protect it. And that's why I will make a goddamn badass judge in this court.
And so why would my experience? Well, I'm going to draw on life experience of 58 years. I'm also going to draw on my legal experience for the past 8 years as an attorney and the 3 years out of law school, what I learned. In life, you learn a lot of things going forward, You learn the right and wrong things, you learn how people act, and you learn to respect others. I think the court there, my philosophy is everybody enters inside a court on the same level playing field, regardless of whether you're criminal or civil, your charges that are going in there. Everybody's equal. We all have the same things. So part of the reason, that I want to do this job is because I want to get back to the community, ensure that everything gets heard in a court. What I find that judges can do is they can direct the outcome of it by the way they let evidence in and things come in. I want a court that where everybody comes in, they get to tell their story. They get their evidence in, but the most prejudicial, so that they come out getting to tell a full story and have a fair trial. That's what I envision for the court, for the district court up there, and I'd like to be that judge to have that opportunity based on life skills. I'm a person that comes from the working class level. I'm not an academic person. And I think ordinary working class people know what's right and wrong. Not only do I know the law, but I also know right and wrong from a moral standpoint. So that's my position, and hopefully you guys will find your favor with me when this is through.
Well, the 122nd District Court is a trial court. It is a court that handles felony, criminal cases, and civil cases with no limit in jurisdiction. So what the takeaway for this is this court handles the most serious criminal cases in the county, all the way to the most serious and important murder cases, and handles the most serious civil cases where what's on the line for a lot of individuals or corporations could bankrupt the business. So the most important cases for a corporation might land in this court. The most important criminal cases will also land in this court. My 22 years as a lawyer, I have been a trial lawyer. I've handled trials on a daily basis. It's my living. It's what I do in my day-to-day job. It's what I do. And this is not, the 122nd District Court, unfortunately, is not a mock court. It's a real court with live controversies and very serious cases. I started my career as a prosecutor, and I now handle civil defense cases. But in my career, I've handled every type of case that would ever come before this court. As to being a former prosecutor, I am the law enforcement candidate. We're here in Texas City, Texas tonight. The Texas City Police Association, they've endorsed me. So has the League City Police Association. So has the Galveston Police Association. I'm the law enforcement candidate, and I think my experience as a former prosecutor, putting people in jail, is the reason I'm the law enforcement candidate. But also, on a day-to-day basis, since leaving the DA's office, I've handled important cases for individuals and corporations on a day-to-day basis as a trial lawyer. And I think that this is a trial court, and it demands that we elect someone who has conservative values and can take those values to the bench to ensure that the Republican Party can still have a conservative judge in that race. And I appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, now this part might get a little fun, which is why I had the little caveat on the last question. So, now that each of you have heard from your opponent, and I do have to say, this is the first candidate forum we've had for the judicial races, right, or any races, so, you know, kudos to Mid-County on that. But, so now that each of you have heard from your opponent, please compare yourself to the other candidate and state what about you, your professional experience, and your special skills makes you the better candidate for judge.
I believe I would make a better candidate than my opponent in that I will protect the individual right. It doesn't matter who's the party going to be in front of me. I'm going to rule based on the merit of the case, the law. And I will rule and make decisions expediently and not sit on it. So I will ensure that all the individual right is protected. Doesn't matter if the parties is the well-known, let's say the President of the United States or Mr. Smith down the street. And I have handled cases, and I have been as a trial attorney in all these areas, from civil, probate, juvenile, family, and criminal law. That's what been covered. I have handled it as a trial attorney. So I understand what it takes to be as a trial attorney. I will ensure that the law, the Constitution will be abided by. And they're due to that. I will make this court run efficiently and timely. And due to that, I believe I will make a much, much better candidate than my opponent.
I just don't know that I can get this done in 2 minutes, Judge. All right. So I am the only person in this race with any judicial experience. I'm it. And I have been a judge in your community for nearly 19 years. I've run a variety of courts, from municipal court to the magistrate court to a juvenile court to your juvenile court, another county court, and now county court 2. I have a reputation for being a hard-working judge, have a reputation for compassion on the bench and fairness. I would say that if you doubt, I'm not sure what my opponent's getting at, but again, anybody who criticizes the way that County Court 2 operates, I would challenge you to be very specific. Please look at my website and you will see that I've got the endorsement of just about every elected official that can make endorsements. I've got the endorsement of law enforcement. I've got, and when I say law enforcement, I mean Galveston Police Department, Texas City Police Department, Santa Fe Police Department, and League City Police Department. But more importantly, I've got the endorsement of my colleagues, the attorneys. If you look at my endorsement list on my website, you will see defense attorneys, you will see family attorneys, you will see civil, both plaintiff and defense civil attorneys. And I have those endorsements because those attorneys that come into my court every day know that I run a court that's user-friendly for them. I run a court that is fair. I run a court that always, always, always follows the law. And here's what I'm going to say about that. Sometimes when you follow the law, it is not easy. Sometimes when you follow the law, it is not the popular thing to do. And sometimes when you follow the law, parties take exception to it and you end up with an opponent. And that's what's happened to me here. But I would tell you, rather than take at face value what my opponent's saying, please look on the webpage and see the endorsements that I have and reach out to those attorneys. In fact, I've got some of these attorneys here with me today. Reach out to those attorneys and ask them how County Court 2 is run. I challenge anybody to say anything negative about the way County Court 2 is run. Am I out? Okay, I didn't hear it.
Again, the court, the 122nd District Court, like the five district courts that have the similar jurisdiction, this court does not handle family cases. It does not handle probate cases. What it handles are felony criminal cases and civil cases. I'm the best candidate because on a day-to-day basis, it's my day job. I represent corporations and individuals in civil cases, and I've prosecuted individuals in district court. I've even prosecuted murder cases. I've defended individuals that have been accused of crimes. It is my understanding that my opponent has never handled a case in district court for felony criminal cases or civil cases. It's my understanding that he has never had a trial in a district court. I have over 100 trials, and I don't want to say I'm the trial lawyer, therefore that's why I'm the best candidate. But it is a fact that this is my day job. It's not a part-time job. It's not a mock trial. I'm the candidate that has handled trials on a day-to-day basis. I understand the needs of the DA's office. I understand the needs of the litigants that come before that court on a day-to-day basis, because that is what I do on a daily basis. Also, as a magistrate judge, I understand how everything is done from top to bottom in every phase of the courthouse. I understand how the sausage is made, and it's my understanding that my opponent does not know where the sausage factory is located. I'd appreciate your support.
Like I told you before, I'm just a working class guy. I'm a welder with a law degree. The fact is, I have appeared in district courts on felony charges, ag assault, family violence cases in Fort Bend County. And I'll tell you what awakened me when I come out of law school. Prior to law school, I thought like right's right and wrong is wrong. And I thought that judges were fair and unbiased. And when I got out of law school and I got before some of these courts, I found out that wasn't quite so. That the people I represented, in fact, an illegal alien accused with that family assault, domestic violence, got there wrongfully. And then when I got to the prosecutor and had a complaining witness statement that explained what happened, it happened to be a story about him being upset and mad because the chickens wasn't put up, is what it wound up being. That's how it got there. I got the complaining witness statement showing. The prosecutor said they didn't care. Complaining witness statement didn't make no fact. We're going to try it. Well, in fact, it was me telling him so. But I had to tell my client, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what a judge is going to do. You know, he wound up taking a plea. I found out, and that's why I want to be a judge, is that I want to be a judge for the people. I want to be a judge so when you come in that court that it's fair. I'm not endorsed by any of these people these folks have talked about. I ain't taking no money from none of these people these folks talked about. I'm not obligated to anybody that we've heard here. That may have a lot of merit in this room right here, but I hope it has more merit out there with the people out there that they say, hey, we want somebody up there that's fair. Can I understand the law? Absolutely. I went to law school. I've appeared in cases. I've argued trials, mock trials and real ones, but I'm looking for support from the people of Galveston County. And law enforcement are people of Galveston County. They'll get the same fair shake that anybody else does. They'll get to support criminals need to be put in jail. Of course they do. But when they enter that courtroom, they got a presumption of innocence, and they better keep that through the trial. And the prosecutor better prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that that person's guilty. And a lot of times we find it ain't that way. Like I said, law school opened my eyes. A case that really opened my eyes was about Michael Morton. And though I don't have time to talk about it, what they did to that man was wrong. He spent 25 years in life for it. I want to be the judge and make sure that don't happen. That whether it's civil or criminal, you walk in that court and you get a fair trial and you get a full trial.
So this is my finished question. It was something I had to deal with, discuss, expound on when I ran, and it is this. So you are all running on the Republican ticket. The Mid-County Republican Network, it's a Republican organization seeking to keep conservative leadership and a conservative judiciary in our county. Please tell the members of Mid-County Republican Network why you consider yourself a conservative and what, if anything, you have done to participate in and be part of the Republican movement in Galveston County or anywhere else which you have helped support Republicans. So, I'm going to say the question again just real quick. Please tell the members of Mid-County Republican Network, because I kind of stumbled over it, why you consider yourself a conservative, and what, if anything, you have done to participate and be part of the Republican movement in Galveston County or anywhere else which you have helped support Republicans. And this is a 2-minute question.
All right, so I started out my opening saying I think most of you know me, and most of you know me because you see me at these Republican meetings every single month. I have been involved not just with the community, but with the Republican groups and the conservative groups in this community for nearly 2 decades. I've been an officer in a couple of the Republican groups. I was one of the people who walked the block and made telephone calls and worked the polls to help turn Galveston County red. We started that movement in 2002, and I think we weren't completely successful in 2010. And that entire time, I was involved in that process. I'm sorry. Can I the rest of the question? What you do. And how to explain yourself as a conservative. Okay, so as a conservative, I believe that life is precious and it starts at conception. I believe that everybody has the right to protect themselves, and that means carrying a gun if that's what you want to do. I believe in our faith, freedom, and family. I believe that a judge should not legislate from the bench, but should interpret the law and rule on the law as it's given. I worked hard to help turn Galveston County red. I've been very active with these Republican parties, and not just one or two, but with multiple Republican groups. Yeah.
Why am I consider myself a conservative is that my family fled Vietnam when the communists took over. We had nothing. Mine was brought up based on the Republican conservative principle. You work hard. My parents came here with nothing, couldn't even speak a word of English, with 4 minor children, through hard work, through sweat and tear, and able to raise the kid, create a small business, put all of us through college. My parents never let us forget that it doesn't matter where we come from, and that's the foundation of the Republican conservative base, is that you work hard, you believe in God and faith, you protect the innocent, and that's the conservative belief. That's why I believe I'm a conservative. How I have helped the conservative movement is that before I moved down here and lived permanently, I was up in Houston, in Harris County. I had open heart surgery in 2018, and because of that, I have been practicing law and run into Jeth many times during the year, over the year. We run in around through Harris County, Fort Bend, Galveston, but I decided about 3 years ago after my heart surgery that I wanted to live in the water, by the water. I moved down here. Our family always had property down in Galveston for almost like over close to 20 years. That's the house I'm living right now, where my family had bought. But while I was in Houston, in Harris County, I was an activist working for the TV station, which is Van TV, a station that fought against communists. The owner of the station, she created the station because she wanted the Vietnamese who fled Vietnam and communists to have a voice in the U.S. And I worked for them. I went through all the community activity, and that's how I protect and help the Republican movement. And before this, I was never in politics, always on the outside.
I'm sure I'll forget all of it. Why do I consider myself a conservative? I guess I'm talking loud enough in it this time, I hope. I believe in freedom, and I believe everybody believes in freedom. I believe in the right to life, and I know that's a very controversial issue that people have to go through internally with it. I believe in the right to carry a sidearm if you want to in the state of Texas to protect your family. But bottom line, I believe that we, as each and every one of us, should have the right to do what we want. We don't impose bad things upon our neighbors. And as a conservative, that seems to me what's the basis of freedom. Less government, get big government gone, roll it back. The laws, for example, are so massive and onerous, it's almost impossible to navigate some of them. So a conservative basis is what I have. Now, my father was a union electrician, and he was a Democrat. Now, back then, I got these values for me as a child through that and my family, through my grandparents. Work hard, do unto others as you do unto yourself, and be free, and help those along the way. What have I done for the Republican Party? This is my very first time getting involved with politics. I've heard, hey, you need to step up and get involved. You need to do something. Well, I'm stepping up and I'm getting involved. This is way outside of norm for me. I ain't no way I want to get up and run for an office or nothing else. But it's the time now is that at the local level, we need to ensure that we keep Republicans in place, and we need to ensure that our values are moved forward, whether it's at the judge in the courts, whether it's our commissioners, whether it's with our constables. Because if not, we're going to wind up with something that we don't want. I think everybody in the room has the same pretty much beliefs. We could argue about some things and about the candidates, but we believe in freedom, we believe in morals, we believe in the right that our children get to have a better tomorrow than we do. So hopefully I'll be able to stay involved with the Republican Party. I will, try to make these meetings. Being working full time is tough, but step up, contribute when I can, spend a lot of money at the Reagan dinners down there in Galveston, and stay proactive along with all the rest of y'all. Thank you.
Okay, I'm a Republican. I have been since I was a child, probably hopefully since I was born. I believe in the right to life. I believe in the Second Amendment. I've been a life member of the NRA. I believe that the judge of the 122nd District Court should enforce the law. The rule of law is what's important. Should follow the Constitution and not legislate from the bench. I believe as a Republican in limited government, and I of course believe in freedom. I support our troops. My father was in the military. My grandfather was in the military. My father was also a volunteer fireman, so I respect first responders. As far as being involved in Republican politics, I actually have been since 1987 when I was a U.S. Senate page for a Republican senator. I later went on to work at the Republican National Committee and for 2 other congressmen, Republicans, while I was at the Republican National Committee. I helped campaigns, I helped Senate races get elected, working on Team 100. And I went on to work on various campaigns, and also was a delegate to the 92 Republican Convention. Most of you that support me or know me because I've been involved in this community as a person who has helped campaigns get elected. I've helped raise money for folks in this county in Republican races, and I've been someone that most of you know and support me for that reason. I believe I am a Republican candidate in this race, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, to answer your question is that I believe I came here, my family came here from Vietnam, and this is my home and country. I went back to Vietnam about 9 years ago, and I can tell you through a client of mine who wanted me to travel with her because she wanted to do business import and export from the U.S. to Vietnam and Vietnam to the U.S. And before that, I came here as a child, 5-year-old. And I always have that question because mom and dad are so traditional at home. We got to speak to them in Vietnamese, which I feel blessed because I speak Vietnamese fluently and can read Vietnamese. Okay, but after I landed over in Vietnam, after 2 days, I knew right away. I said, I now no longer have any question. This is my home and country. That's it. Nowhere else to go. Our country has been hijacked since the beginning of January. I feel like I'm losing my country, okay, since January. Before this, I never bothered to be in politics because I thought and believed and voted and believed that the people that I voted would have my best interest. And unfortunately, okay, there are some Republicans, I don't want to badmouth, are as much complicit as the Democrat. That's how they're able to hijack our country, okay? And due to that, I want to protect and save my country. I don't have kids, unfortunately, due to my health, so I would probably never gonna have kids, but I have 2 minor nephew who's 9-year-old. My brother right there, he's a police officer. My family are so conservative, you cannot imagine. He just recently ran for the police union pension so that he could protect his fellow officer pension and not get hijacked by the Houston city mayor and the Democrat. So yes, I understand how it is, and I am running for this year so that I can protect my right, my nephew's right, the right of all of us in this country, because if it's not, then we're going to lose it. And as a Republican, as the sentiment right now, the environment right now, we have to be an exemplary over the Democrat. We have to be more than them, to show them, look, this is us, this is our country, to be able to take back our country. Otherwise, we would lose. And that's why I'm running for this position. Thank you.
All right. So I would say that you know that I've been involved with the Republican Party here in Galveston County for nearly 2 decades. You know, I've already said I've been a judge in this community for nearly 19 years. I've been an attorney in this community for nearly 29 years. I've practiced criminal law, I practiced family law, and I practiced civil law and juvenile law. I have handled every type of case that comes before this court, both as an attorney and as a judge. As my time on the bench, I have had many jury trials. My opponent keeps saying that she's got the experience. I would ask her honestly, you can check those records. Please check and ask her how many jury trials she's had in the last 5 years. With regard to your commitment, you know that I'm the committed conservative in this race. You know that I'm the one that's been working for this party for darn near 20 years. I have heard not one criticism for the way that County Court 2 runs. I issued that challenge at the front end of this. I've heard not one criticism. I ask you again, before you take my opponent's word for she wants to be a judge in County Court 2, please ask some of the attorneys that come into my court. When you look at the variety of endorsements that I have, you will know that I've got the support across the board, and you only get that support across the board when you run a fair court, when you run a user-friendly court, when you're a hard-working judge and you run your court with compassion and kindness. That's the way that you get the support that I have for my bench in County Court 2. I really, please don't think it's a foregone conclusion that just because I'm the incumbent, I'm going to win this election. It's all about who gets to the polls. I need everybody to please spread the word and please get to the polls for me. I will wrap up by saying, you know, I've heard my opponent say that she practices every type of law. The truth is that if you run up the numbers in the 3 counties that she practices most in, 90% of her practice is criminal defense. And of that, a great deal of it, better than 80%, is the jail docket. So she doesn't have the well-rounded experience that I have. She doesn't have the commitment to your conservative values that I have. And I ask for your support to maintain the good hard work we're doing in County Court 2.
Again, I don't want to repeat myself, but the 122nd District Court is a very important race. It may be a down ballot race, but tell your friends, tell your family that it's an important race that you need to consider who is running in this race. I am the candidate that is running to ensure and hopefully continue the tradition of John Ellisor and a Republican and a conservative continuing in that bench. My years of experience, over 20 years and over 100 jury trials, make me the type of candidate that can be the best candidate on that bench. In district court, it's not mock court. It is not a learn-on-the-job training that happens. You actually need proven experience to be the judge of a district court. I believe that we're having, thankfully we're in Galveston County where we have conservative judges on the bench right now. But as we've seen what's been happening in Harris County, there's been a catch and release program where you get arrested and you just get right out. That's not happening in Galveston County, thankfully. As a magistrate judge, I've seen how that happens, and I've been making sure that the process doesn't become completely blown out of proportion where people are getting a catch and release situation. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. As a judge in this court, I appreciate the law enforcement supports me. As a former prosecutor, I believe I'm the type of judge that can make sure the laws are enforced. I will say that earlier my opponent mentioned that a criminal defendant should be proven guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's not the legal standard. That may concern a lot of people who prosecute in this county because it's only beyond a reasonable doubt. I'll make sure the law is enforced. I'll also ensure that the correct law is enforced and the correct legal standards are enforced. I will follow the Constitution, and I will not legislate from the bench. And I appreciate all the support that I've gotten from the people that know me, but I understand that I need to earn each and every vote, and I look forward to meeting everyone, and I appreciate every bit of support I can get from each of you, and I appreciate your vote in the March 1st Republican primary as your next Republican judge of the 122nd District Court. Thank you.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Experience, like I told you. I'm not a trial attorney. I've judged a whole lot of judges mock trial, which means I hear the evidence and let it in. I had the good fortune of taking criminal advocacy from the late Judge Larry Jeth out of Beaumont, Texas. And in that classroom with a judge that had been for decades that has a prison named after him, he told all of us, he said, if you get an opportunity to run for judge, do it. He said, because it's a very honorable position. And he said, you do have a large outcome on what happens. He said, experience is important. He said, but you've got a law degree under you, and don't doubt what you can do. My experience is rooted as a working class person from the same as y'all sitting out there. Yes, I know the law. I know it's beyond a reasonable doubt, not beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the point being is that when you come into that courtroom, you want to make sure that you get a fair and full trial down there at the basis of it. I honestly wasn't looking to take this position. I did it spontaneously, just like I did for law school, because I wanted to give back to the community. And I wanted to give back to the community at the local level, and again, so that I could get in a courtroom and offer anybody that appeared before it the fair and opportunity to come before it. I have nothing bad to say about Jeth Jones. If he wins, I will support him. I have nothing bad to say about the other candidates. They are awesome. I expect all of us will want to see a Republican on the bench, whether it's any of us sitting up here, but it needs to be some of us sitting up here. Experience is a strange word. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, all the way from being a craft laborer, welding, to running plants, to large multi-million construction projects, to running a chemical plant. Not one of them jobs that I have ever experienced when I took that job. I mean, I had a foundation, there's no doubt about it. I knew a little bit about it. I did do that. I had good people around me to learn from that I could ask questions for, but I never had the experience of being that job. This judge is a very serious job, there's no doubt about it. And I will be a good judge, and I will follow the law. I will reach out to those learned justices around me and get their input on it. But above all, in that courtroom, I will assure that the law is followed. But more than anything else, I assure that you come into that courtroom on a fair and level playing field. No bias, no obligations to anybody else. And I think that's all that I would ask of me. That the judge, whomever the judge was or how learned they was, that they made sure that when I entered that courtroom, whether I'm a defendant or a prosecutor, a plaintiff or a respondent, that I have the opportunity to get heard fully, to hear my case heard fully, and for it to be a fair outcome. And that all the evidence comes into that court that can, because not allowing evidence to come in is the biggest misjustice that I think that a judge can do. I'll close. I'll ask for your support. Again, if you want a working class person to be your judge, I got the law degree, I got the credentials, I've been practicing law 8 years. I'd ask for your support in the election. Thank you.
So, actually, this was awesome.